Let's just jump right into this, because today's explainer explores a truly grim, dark fable of creation, repression, and, well, absolute consumption. We're diving into a story that essentially acts as a profound allegory for human psychology by blending Guithian philosophy with Nietzschean philology. In this world, the very act of writing becomes a weapon, and language itself gets corrupted into an actual physical predator. We're talking, of course, about the terrifying entity known as the Ink Blot Demon. Now, what's really terrifying about this source material is how it frames the very act of creation. It all starts with a master scribe. He was desperately trying to bind his chaotic internal impulses within this massive tome of rigid morality. But the ink he was using, it wasn't just pigment and water. For every single line of law he inscribed, a drop of living ink escaped his control. And it didn't just passively record his efforts, it dictated the shadow. This is exactly where the philological roots of the story take a really dark turn. The ink acted as a metaphysical medium. Through the act of writing itself, the scribe's repressed internal chaos acquired physical autonomy. The exact language meant to contain the monster literally became the monster hunting him. So, how exactly does this demonic executioner, this living ink, actually come to be? To really grasp what's going on here, we have to look at the concept of the willy. In philosophical terms, the willy represents our primordial, underlying chaotic drives. You know, those raw, unfiltered instincts that fundamentally make us human. The master scribe actually believed he could suppress his willy through sheer willpower, structure, and moral dogma. But here's the catch. You can't just erase repressed internal chaos. Instead, through a spilled tincture on the floor, it acquired a life of its own. It morphed into this writhing, anchor-like horror. It wasn't just a static record of his life anymore. It was breathing. It became the active, devouring architect of his own downfall. It's honestly the ultimate masterpiece of self-sabotage. Think about it. The more you deny your fundamental nature, the more it manifests as an active force of terminal destruction. The very will he tried so hard to suppress actually took the form of a demonic executioner. You repress the instinct, the ink dictates your shadow, and suddenly, the internal chaos you thought you could just outsmart has literally written its own executioner into reality. It just goes to show that the harder we try to chain the unchainable, the more devastating the eventual breakout is going to be. And that breakout leads us straight into a terrifying regression, driven by what's known as the heavy spirit of gravity. As this entity grows, the source text introduces this profound Nietzschean concept, the spirit of gravity. This is that internal enemy that causes the human soul to just sink into nihilism, guilt, and self-loathing. It's the sheer weight of taking yourself and your rigid rules way too seriously. In the fable, there's a legion of knights standing tall, totally draped in the heavy iron of objective morality and the suffocating cloaks of dogma. They truly believed their immense weight, their moral structure, was their ultimate strength. But they were entirely unaware that this rigidity was actively feeding the crushing, suffocating psychological weight of the spirit of gravity. And the outcome of holding on to that rigid dogma? It's horrific. As the entity's purple mist descended on these knights, the suffocating vertical pressure of their own guilt stopped being a metaphor. It became a literal physical mass, an all-powerful crushing tyrant. It completely flattened them against the stone earth, leaving nothing behind but hollowed-out, decapitated armor. It's a direct mockery of the Nietzschean potential for the Übermensch, that idealized, striving future of humanity. Instead of ascending, they are forced into a terrifying regression, into complete, flattened emptiness. This catastrophic failure brings us to a violent inversion of Goethe's philosophy, creating an absolute dead end. To truly understand the depth of this horror, we need to look at Goethe, specifically his concept of staggering. Think of staggering kind of like a natural forest fire. It's a progressive development where a catalyst of negation, the fire, burns away the dead brush to force new seeds to strive and evolve. It's this constructive dialectic where destruction actually paves the way for vibrant growth. But with this demonic entity, a vibrant acidic green fire emerged that violently corrupted that natural law. It is a complete and violent inversion of nature. The Goethean ideal relies on Werden, the natural cycle of becoming and creative destruction. But the Ink Blot Demon, it doesn't destroy to create. It slaughters symbols of human cultivation just to absorb their life force directly into its glowing solar plexus. It turns Werden into a terminal dead end. It consumes all gestalt, all form and structure just to feed an eternal chaotic formlessness. It leaves absolutely no room for the future, replacing the catalyst of growth with pure, unadulterated negation.
So let's actually strip away our human conceit for a moment and hear the devouring architect speak for itself.
Imagine it mocking us, sneering from the dark. How pathetic is the human conceit that assumes the living ink of your own drives can be contained by the mere scratches of a pen on paper. You believe you are the authors of your fate, safely recording your lives and managing your instincts. But my ink dictates the shadow. It transforms your unwritten soul drives into physical predators. You actually thought you could chain chaos with laws and rules? I find your human conceit utterly pathetic.
You think you can just bury your instincts beneath layers of chivalric striving and objective morality? You do not erase them. You provide the spilled blood and shattered metal from which I, your tyrant, am born. Your desperate self-denial is the very raw material for your own destruction. I am the executioner you wrote into reality.
Okay, pulling back from the abyss for a second, let's look at the sheer reality of this terminal dead end of pure negation. If we map out this descent, from creation to consumption, we see a tragic, unavoidable arc. It kicks off with the scribe's attempt at moral structure, repressing that primordial will. But that exact repression builds the psychological weight, the spirit of gravity, which literally crushes the knights beneath the suffocating vertical pressure of their own dogma. And it inevitably ends in ultimate consumption, where all form is completely dissolved into chaotic formlessness. It's a terrifying journey from rigid structure, straight down into a crushing mass that entirely empties human vessels of their vital spirit.
So, here's what you absolutely need to take away from this explainer. The Ink Blot Demon isn't your standard literary spirit that eternally denies just to push humanity to strive harder. No, it's a terminal dead end. It violently inverts the Goethean ideal. Manifesting psychological weight is a tangible physical predator. It replaces growth with the suffocating pressure, feeding a vibrant, acidic core of pure negation. And its ultimate victory? Ensuring that nothing, not even the potential of the Ubermensch, can ever rise again from the flattened earth. I want to leave you with this final, somewhat chilling thought. We've just seen how a master scribe's masterpiece of self-sabotage birthed an inescapable monster. If the repressed will inevitably demands a physical form, if denying your own nature only arms your enemy, how long until your internal spirit of gravity flattens you against the stone earth? What devouring architect is your living ink currently writing in the shadows?